Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back. In today's video, I want to have a look at Bitcoin and just sort of talk about the pre-halving years. Now currently we are in a pre-halving year, but we are less than a year away from Bitcoin. And now I've thrown up a few Fibonacci retracement levels, which is a nice indicator. I think it shows a lot and helps us visualize a lot of things. It just makes it easier to absorb the information. So at the moment we're sitting, just below this 30k point. It's not really important to today's video, but I always like to be aware of the price. Obviously, we've had a good year so far, a very good year, but we'll see how long that holds out. Not to put any ominous overtones over the video, but we might be seeing some trouble. So one thing I want to clarify is during pre-halving years, we roughly see half the year down, half the year up. Now this year so far, we're obviously a little bit over halfway, whatever, 8 over 12, I can't do the maths, 4 over 6, whatever it is, halfway through the year. And so far we've seen basically good. I think we've seen 2 poor months, 6 good months, which, is not it hasn't disproven the theory yet, or the average of what happens, and we've just got to wait out and let that see. So I want to have a look at previous halving years and see what happens. Now this Fibonacci here, it's exactly a year. It's the year that leads up to the Fibonacci, exactly. So this is 2020, and the halving took place on May 11th, 2020. So we can see that it goes from May 11th, 2020 all the way to May 11th, 2019. And we can see that it was a pretty choppy year last year for the halving. I mean, we sort of entered it here, shot up, and then came down very harshly, and then back up for our halving, which then basically took care of the price, sent us into the next bull run. Looking at this though, I want to have a look at the year before, the situation that we are currently in. We saw 2019, okay, start of the year, we had it go up, all the way till July, basically. It was basically July, all the way up since then, on average, and then for the rest of the year, down. So we see we roughly have half and half. This case, it was 7 months up, 5 months down, roughly, following the general trend. And then once we'd sorted out our pre-halving year, we'd gone into our halving year, we get very choppy action, but once the halving takes place, Bitcoin actually continues to go up, and that leads us into a bull run. So unlike Litecoin, Bitcoin's halving actually seems to do good for the price action of the coin. Now let's go back to 2016. It was July 9th for the halving in 2016, and as you can see, starting here, July 9th, 2016, all the way back to July 9th, 2015. And we can see this one, it's quite nice, it's just a steady upward movement, for the year to date from the halving, it's just up really. And then as we keep going, we see Bitcoin just keeps going up. A few choppy sort of price movements the higher we climb, but ultimately leading us into a nice bull run. Good gains were made. But if we have a look at the sort of beginning of the year, we see that we enter the year, whatever, January 1st here. At this point, we travel down all the way to these lows until August, basically. I mean, you could argue this month was positive technically around here, but ultimately from here on it was negative, and you could even really argue here was negative. So basically all the way up to September was poor for Bitcoin for the pre-halving year, and then it had good returns, nice returns. So it's roughly about 7 months down, 5 months up again. So we're seeing 7 months down, 5 months up, like the previous one, in the pre-halving year. And then once we sort of get to our year to date, once our pre-halving year is over, we see good price action. So like we see here, we basically spend, once the end of the halving year is over, we don't see it go below that, and if we do, it's not for very long and for not very much. Now, going back to our first halving ever that Bitcoin has recorded, you can see this one's a bit of a weird one, and I also want to say that there was a lot going on at this time. This is when Bitcoin sort of gained its first ever actual mainstream use. Of course, it was from the Silk Road, which, you know, it's not the best things to get adopted by. Whatever your beliefs, I'd be fairly liberal myself, but I think that's one step too far, a marketplace like that. Anyway, Bitcoin was used Silk Road, which gave it an actual value, which really sort of skyrocketed it here, and it basically was since 2011 that it was used for the Silk Road. So as we can see, if we go to 2011, sorry, I meant to say the halving here was in November of 2012, the 28th of November. So we can see 28th of November 2011. Going back to 2011, excuse me, I don't know what's wrong with my brain. 2011, we see that basically we have a very strong start to the year. It's parabolic almost. In fact, it is parabolic. And then after about May, June time, it goes down. So we see we get this 6 months up, 6 months down. And then once we're in our sort of, once we've done our year, our pre-halving year, we've gotten all the liquidity out, we've had our 6 months up, 6 months down, we see that it just climbs, basically. It just climbs from the year to date. So, the year to date is pretty useful usually. We can see that, actually, it wasn't this one. We can see that if we go back to 2020, this is probably our most accurate in terms of when the halving is supposed to take place. For us, the halving is supposed to be 26th of April, 2024. And back in 2020, it took place on May 11th. So this is the closest sort of date-wise of when the halving should take place. And we see, obviously, we get our time up and we get our time down. And we see that we start the year to date strong, and then we basically crumble until 2020. We have a little revival, a secondary scare, which is another thing I want to talk about, and then our halving brings us into the bull run. Like you can see, it doesn't go back down really here. It has our secondary scare, wipes out a load of leverage traders and liquidations, gets rid of sort of everyone who is not a hardcore veteran for the space, and then it climbs up. We have another little drop here, but it's nothing really, and then it's bull run season. And I think, to be honest with you, looking at today's chart, we're going to see something similar. I think so far this year, since 2023, we've seen huge gains. In fact, let's measure this. Since 2023, we are up currently 77%, and our high is 92% up. If we go back to 2023, we can see that from the beginning of the year, let's have a look, our highs were much higher, to be fair. Okay, for some reason in my brain I thought that was going to be much lower, but you can see we have our stupid peaks up here, and even when we enter our year to date, we go up for how many months is that? We continue to go up for about 2 months. We spend 2 months up and then down for the rest. If we have a look here, we've spent so far since we've entered this Fibonacci, well, we've gone up about 2 months. We can see we peaked at the 2 months. Not quite peaked, but that's when we put in our first high. And we've stayed at this range for a little while. So, okay. We stayed there an extra month. That's fine. But now you can see we're actually dropping back down again now, which is pretty similar to what happened here. So yeah, we put in our 2 months here, and instead of dropping down and coming up like here, we sort of stayed here, and now we're dropping down. So in my opinion, from what I can see from sort of past action from BTC, we're due pain this year. And if we have a look at the last halving, we sort of finish up where we start, similar enough. The halving, the hype before the halving and the actual halving itself does seem to bring us up to where we started the year to date. And if we have a look, the year to date was roughly 28,000. We sort of entered at the 28,000 level, and I can see that very much happening. I can see us dropping another 20% from where we are now, you know, minus 6k, go down to 23, 24. I can definitely see us touching here again, because I mean, it's not even that long ago we were actually there. I mean, you know, it was literally June when now this was a wick, but we hit this 24k level. And by the way, these these Fibonacci's aren't accurate. The price might drop lower, so we might need to bring it lower, you know. This is just for sort of to make it easier to visualize and sort of see where we are in the pattern. It might even go higher again, so this Fibonacci is not accurate at all. It's just a placeholder. But it is interesting to see, because again, last year we spent the first half of the year to date up, the rest down, and that was after having a strong start to the year. We have a strong first 6 months, and then poor next 6 months, and then we sort of flip-flop between again after that. So into 2022 we spend basically 2 months up, and then we spend close to 2 months down, and then we go into our bull run. If we're to do the same here, excuse me, we can say that maybe once we hit 2024, we might be at a very sort of middle level again. We might spend 2 months up, go up here again, 2 months down, and then we'll go into a bull run. I have no clue. That's so far out that it's not worth even sort of speculating on specifics like that. But I would say that we've had, so far, looking at past events, we've had our 6 months of up. And I think really we've sort of, well, it has been 6 months really so far. We've had 6 months up, 1 month down, and August has historically been a very poor month for BTC, and so is September, especially pre-halvings. I don't think there's ever been a green month for Bitcoin pre-halving in September or August. Maybe August. I don't think August is as bad as September, but we do see you know, drops in price for BTC August and September, and that is usually about 20% over the 2 months. So again, down 20% from 29k, we could definitely see 23k. That's like, you know, it's not bad at all. And even I noticed as well when we were looking at these pre-halvings, when they've pumped for the 6 months and dumped for the 6 months, what seems to happen is BTC goes up, say 100% for the 6 months, and then it goes down for the next 6 months, 50%. So it sort of loses half of the gains it made. So it goes up 100%, drops 50%. And that happens quite often, or it has, you know, in basically every single pre-halving. It should drop to some level around here, which lines up with the 24k. Now that's very rough, by the way. If we were going to do it perfectly, it might be better, it might be worse. But that does basically line up with the 24k, and that's where it does seem to end out on the pre-halving year. So like we can see, we go here, and this roughly lines up with green. If we have a look, December 2022 at the green, it basically happens every single time. So just a few things to be aware of. Now I want to wrap up here, guys. I don't want to keep the videos too long. Thanks for watching. Always appreciate it. Hopefully you found this informative, useful, and it will help you during long-term cryptocurrency career. Anyway, take care guys, peace, thanks.